it's only because of the devotees that our family is extended across the world. I mean, no one else has a family of this size that we can all recognize each other all around the world. So yeah, feeling very grateful for this family.
Thank you,
Okay,
Lila.
yay.
Yeah, the floor is yours. We're live on YouTube for the humanity at large. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Let's not forget to leave 10-15 questions before 8, 10-15 minutes for questions and love and exchanges before 8.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bhakti Center. Good morning, Radha Mulidhar Gaurachandra. And today we are continuing our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm going to share the screen. Okay, so 10th canto, chapter 44. I think that someone posted the verses 31 through 37. Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pashyate Adesha Tarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so this is a very exciting time here with this chapter. See, is it almost coming to an end? It's almost coming to an end. So I'll just read the verses. I think only the last one has a very short purport, and we'll explore what this is bringing for us today. So beginning with text 31 of chapter 44 of the 10th canto. The Bhoja king, seeing that his best wrestlers had all been killed or had fled, stopped the musical performance originally meant for his pleasure and spoke the following words. Text 32, Kamsa said, "Drive the two wicked sons of Vasudeva out of the city. Confiscate the cowherd's property and arrest that fool Nanda." Text 33, "Kill that most evil fool Vasudeva and also kill my father Ugrasena, along with his followers who have all sided with our enemies." Text 34, as Kamsa thus raved so audaciously, the infallible Lord Krishna, intensely angry, quickly and easily jumped up onto the high royal dais. Text 35, seeing Lord Krishna approaching like death personified, the quick-witted Kamsa instantly rose from his seat and took up his sword and shield. Text 36, sword in hand, Kamsa moved quickly from side to side like a hawk in the sky. But Lord Krishna, whose fearsome strength is irresistible, powerfully seized the demon just as a son of Tarksha might capture a snake. Text 37, grabbing Kamsa by the hair and knocking off his crown, the lotus navel lord threw him off the elevated dais onto the wrestling mat. Then the independent lord, the support of the entire universe, threw himself upon the king. And so in this text, the purport is, in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada describes the death of Kamsa as follows. Krishna at once straddled his chest and began to strike him over and over again. Simply from the strokes of his fist, Kamsa lost his vital force. Whoops, that didn't end well for him. Okay, so all of these verses, and there was only that tiny little purport, so we have to infer what's going on and maybe just discuss what's coming up for us about Krishna, about Kamsa, about the whole situation. And one of the interesting things in these verses is that let's go back to this, second to last of the ones that I read. There's a description of Kamsa that is really interesting. Text 35. Seeing Lord Krishna approaching like death personified, the quick-witted Kamsa instantly rose from his seat and took up his sword and shield. And I was wondering why is Kamsa being described here as quick-witted, and he is, in a sense. He's tried to do many things. He lured the boys there because he had an evil plan. And then when we look at the words that are being used is manashvi. It's translated as intelligent. And then going to that word within Veda base is great-minded, intelligent, thoughtfulness, even meditative. So these are the different ways in which this word is translated. But why is it important to why was it important to describe him as such? And so if we go back to what was happening here, let's go back to the beginning of how Kamsa ended up in this situation. He heard that he was going to be killed, which is, big surprise. Hey, you're one day you're gonna die. He was just given the details, the information of how that would come about. And he went into great fear. And everything that he did from that point forward was based on that fear, as if dying were only happening to him. And he thought that he was going to be able to stop this. And so he started with his demoniac strategies of trying to defeat the person that was going to kill him. And that included killing all the other children of Vasudeva and Devaki. And then sending demons, demons to assassins, basically, to kill a small child in Vrindavan. And what I found it interesting that his plan isn't working out at this point, and his response to that is completely unreasonable. He's saying, well, kill everyone, kill my father. I mean, that's just such a it's completely unreasonable. And so he may have been intelligent, but there were a few things that intelligence couldn't bring him, and it couldn't bring him the ability to stop death, the ability to go up against the Lord, even though he was in the form of a young boy. And it didn't allow him to see clearly. Now he wants to kill everyone. It's just so unreasonable. So he's caused all of this. All of this is happening because of what he's done, and because of his fear, his reaction to finding out that he's going to die at some point. But he's not taking responsibility for it. He is blaming everyone else as if they've done him some wrong. And he just can't see. And so he ends up in this situation where he angers Krishna. So Krishna wasn't afraid. Krishna ended up going there, and different reasons. One, because Krishna was trying to protect the inhabitants of Vrindavan, but also because he was just playing out this pastime. So he knows, he's not afraid to go and find Kamsa. And he allowed himself to be lured there under these pretenses that it was just going to be a wrestling match. But Kamsa's thinking that, well, I'm gonna defeat him and everything will be okay. But he's unaware of the consequences, the consequences, the consequences of his own actions. So, okay, I'm just gonna pull up some notes here. Okay, so this being unable to take responsibility and to blame others, to have an unreasonable reaction to what's happening without seeing that he's the cause of the problem. And if we go back to the Bhagavad Gita in the 16th chapter, it's described what this description of an asura is, and this mentality of everyone else is my enemy, and I'm going to defeat them. Let's just pull that up. 16. Just because it'll be better if I read it directly. So So chapter 16, divine and demoniac natures. And in text 13 and 15, this is how the mentality of a demoniac person is described. So much wealth I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. And underneath that, we can see that Kansa is really afraid. There are other verses where it's described that he just goes into this completely fearful situation, and his hair's standing all on end, and he's a complete disaster. It's because of his fear. And so this being intelligent didn't help him against the real intelligence is knowing what happens when we come up against situations and when we come up against the thing that we're all going to come up against, and that's death. And so if we think about the Srimad Bhagavatam, it also began with someone hearing that they're going to die. King Parikshit understood he's going to die in 7 days, and his response is the complete opposite of Kamsa. So here we have this an example of how one person responded and thought, oh, I guess I'm going to leave this body soon. Let me go and see what's important, what really matters, what do I need to focus on, because I'm not taking any of this with me. I'm just going to give it up, renounce it all, and start focusing on that transition, on the process of dying. And Kamsa did the complete opposite. He went into protection mode. He went into creating all of these strategies that he thought were so witty and so intelligent, and it backfired. So what's the difference between this? It's and then I guess tomorrow we'll hear about what happens to Kamsa once he leaves his body. But the difference is their mentality. And so even in a fighting mood, someone can be in the service of the Lord, but his mentality was completely different. He was constantly meditating on Krishna, but he was meditating on Krishna not in a favorable mood. And so one of the stories in this 10th canto is of Jambavan. It's described that Krishna was actually looking for a fight. He wanted to have a good fight with someone, and so he created this pastime, and Jambavan happened to be in the middle of it. He was at that point the strongest, most powerful fighter, I think it's described, on the earth at that time. But he was blinded by anger. He was a devotee of the Lord. But in that moment, he was blinded by anger when he thought he didn't know who Krishna was, and he was protecting his son, and he was protecting what he thought was his property. And so in that anger, he came to fight against the Lord. But now that was devotional service, because even though he wasn't remembering that it was Krishna, he did ultimately remember. But the anger was the thing that blinded him. So here we have Kamsa blinded by fear. He can't see what is happening. He can't see that his strategies are completely demoniac and that they are not going to get him anywhere. And Jambavan was blinded by anger, and he couldn't see that his Lord was right in front of him. And so these are very important things to observe. What is it that are our obstacles to seeing clearly? And to purify the heart means to remove the obstacles to love, because Jambavan did want to express love. Imagine he is a devotee of the Lord, and the Lord is right in front of him, but he can't see it because he's blinded by his own anger. And of course, Kamsa, there was no way he was going to see that, because this just was going downhill from the beginning. But what does it mean to see clearly and to remove these obstacles, to purify our heart? If everything is love, and I'm here, you're there, Krishna's everywhere, and everything is about the relationship that we have with him and his energies, then what is it that gets in our way? And we come to see this when we're trying to perform some devotional service. So it may not look the way that these personalities are showing their devotional service by just doing what they're meant to be doing. For example, Jambavan fighting this, I think it was 18 days that Krishna and him were fighting. And Krishna was in ecstasy. This is exactly what he wanted. And at the end of it, Jambavan not only interacted with the Lord, he came to realize, he overcame his anger, he came to realize, oh, this is my Lord. And so then they ended up having this pastime. And also the story of Bhishma, who was on the battlefield with Krishna. He was also in a fighting mood, this mood of chivalry and just being in opposition with. But he was also in ecstasy because he knew who Krishna was, and he's doing his duty as an opponent of Krishna in this war. And he's actually shooting arrows at Krishna, and they're piercing him. And so he's creating we could say some appearance of harm to Krishna because he wasn't actually harmed, but he was in pure ecstasy watching this. And so here we have the same situation. Someone's going up against Krishna in a fighting mood, but he's in a different consciousness because he knows who it is. And that the consciousness is everything. So, okay, there's a hand up. Bhima, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lila. Thank you very much. Very quickly, do you remember how Prabhupada described, or how the Mahabharata described the arrows that Bhishma was shooting and striking Krishna? One would think, oh my God, like what is that relationship? These arrows are actually piercing Krishna's skin. What is the description of what Krishna felt? Do you know?
I don't remember. Do you know?
Yeah, I was very much taken aback and delighted on hearing that when the arrow struck Krishna's skin and pierced it, it felt like the bites of a lover.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I just thought I'd.
Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and so it's a very different situation. How it's a completely different mood. And so, okay, so then what is the takeaway for us here? One of the things is that Krishna is reciprocating with everyone, with Kamsa, with Bhishma. He was reciprocating with Bhishma on that battlefield. He was reciprocating with Kamsa. This was the way to reciprocate. So once he started to attack the cowherd people, Krishna wasn't having that. And so the reciprocation for that was exactly what Kamsa got. So he's reciprocating with us in every moment. And just like he was driving Arjuna's chariot onto the battlefield, as Super Soul in the heart, he's driving our chariots. And this is an incredible thing to consider, that he's the Supreme Lord, the controller of everything, the owner of everything. And just like Arjuna said, take me out into the battlefield, he followed his instruction. And so we have Super Soul in our heart who is giving us direction, who is giving us the ability to move, to go from here to there. We use our free will, and wherever I want to go, there I'm going to be. Because Super Soul is giving me that ability. It's directing every movement. Without Super Soul in the heart, we're not alive. And this implies that we have to take responsibility of where we're going, where we ask to go. What are my desires? Because those desires are the instructions to our chariot driver. And this is not to minimize the Lord. We are not greater, but this is how great he is, that he's in the heart and says, wherever you want to go, I'm going to take you. In the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, let's look this up, chapter 4, text 11. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pratha. And it's described here that wherever one wants to find Krishna, there you will find him. Where, however you want to relate with Krishna, there you will find him. And this story of Kansa, this pastime, is describing this. However you want to find him, you're going to find him. If you want to go in opposition, all your wits, all my intelligence, it's not going to get me anywhere, but just in reciprocity of what I'm giving, I'm going to get back what I give out. And this is why some devotees can experience this bliss of being in relationship with the Supreme Lord, and other people like Hansa, they're still being reciprocated with, but they're receiving something different because of what they're putting out. And so this goes back to how can I purify my heart so that my desires are purified, so that my direction, my instructions of where I want to go are in line with my nature and are in line with the nature of the relationship, the loving relationship that we have with the Lord. And so this is a huge responsibility, because we can go anywhere that we want. We can go up against the Lord and his devotees and his energies in opposition, but we see where that ends up. It doesn't end up in a loving relationship. It ends up being always fearful. And like Kansa is afraid. If he just knew who he was, that there never is any being destroyed or any ceasing to be, and that what real power is, what nothing here belongs to us. We don't have anything. And our real power is only in understanding that. He wouldn't have been so confused. He wouldn't have been so bewildered, but this was the pastime. So what does that mean for us? And this shows up in our devotional service, where, you know, it may seem like we're in a battlefield, whatever it is that we're doing, however we're living our lives and trying to offer that in devotional service. Sometimes it feels like we're fighting up against something, whether it's our own tendencies, our own false ego, or just the material world, however it's showing up. But to see that Krishna's on the other side of that, bringing us everything for our in a mood of mercy. It changes everything. It changes how we show up for difficulties. What heart are we bringing to that? Will I become fearful and angry, or will I try to take a different perspective and realize, oh, the Lord's only taking me where I've wanted to go, and he's reciprocating with me. And true protection isn't to never die or to never come up against difficulties, because King Parikshit came up against difficulty. He was a devotee. And so what is true protection? True protection is of knowing what's what, knowing what's real, what's not real, of letting my consciousness not be covered over by anger and fear and all its different manifestations. That's true protection. What's going to happen is going to happen, and we're going to come up against these difficulties, and the moment will come where we'll have to face death, even with those around us, or for ourselves, or the ending of a decade, the ending of a relationship, the ending of a phase of life, the ending, so many endings. Am I going to be clouded by fear? Am I going to be clouded by anger? Or am I going to take shelter of Krishna? So these are some thoughts on these verses. We still have time for questions and discussion. So let's see.
So we have some new people attending. So if you are new and you have a question or a reflection, you can raise your virtual hand or unmute yourself, and we welcome you to participate.
Who is here for the first time? I'm curious.
I think Martine is here for the first time from Urban Devi. So welcome, Martine.
Hi, Martine. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I jumped in the middle, so I have no thoughts for now. But I mean, yeah, I do have a thought. I mean, it's every time we every ending, that what you just finished with resonates. I just retired, so I ended, you know, a period of my life, and it is uncharted territories by default, right? Like every time we end something, we step into, even though I think I've thought about it my whole professional life, all of a sudden I'm here. What happened? Where did all these years go? You know, I look at myself, and clearly I am an older woman. I don't feel like that, but you know, so what is the roadmap for me right now, right? So yeah, it resonates a lot with what you just said, you know, on a personal level, on a more global level, with all the traumas that we are going through. You know, how do we each individually, with our own, you know, genealogy, family history, traditions, you know, face, and as an emotional person myself and a Jew, it's compounding, right? Because we carry thousands of years of traumas in ourselves. So so it's an interesting time, let's put it that way. But certainly I can say that the ground feels a little shaky in so many areas, right? So I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah,
you know, so I'm trying to stay grounded. So I've been chanting a lot. I've been, you know, I just came back from India. I was in India with Raghunath last month. So so certainly, yeah. So it's my first time with you, and I'm looking forward to more. So thank you.
Thank you, Martine. Yeah, this is an excellent point. So being, you know, I can appreciate your new journey, and it is actually it is normal for all of us when we're coming up against a new situation, whether it's expected or unexpected. This fear and this anger is absolutely normal. When the residents of Vrindavan were coming up against these distasteful personalities who were coming to try to do harm, there was fear. There was fear. And so then the idea that to have a spiritual understanding of something doesn't mean that the fear and the anger goes away. It just means that we understand not to behave from that anger and that fear, because it is scary. And that this world, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying about the ground feeling shaky underneath that. It's like that everywhere in this world. So many things that are happening, and it's hurtful, and it's bewildering sometimes. But then the idea is, what do I do? What do I turn to when I have this insecurity, this instability, this bewilderment, not knowing which way to go, what to do, what's coming up next? So we can get fearful. And so the difference between someone like Kansa, who got fearful and tried to make the thing that was making him fearful, make that go away as if he could, that was his mistake. He was trying to stop something. And this is actually, if we're going back to this verse, there's something here. Okay. The navel. Okay. Sword in hand, Kamsa moved quickly from side to side like a hawk in the sky. But Lord Krishna, whose fearsome strength is irresistible, powerfully seized the demon just as the son of Tarksha might capture a snake. And the verse before that was where Kamsa is being described as so quick-witted, but you can't go up against something that's much, much more powerful. Yeah, so let's see. Okay, we have Jeffrey. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, Lila.
Morning.
And hi, Martine. It's good to see you after almost a year and a half now. but I was thinking to Martine's point about changes and having like those inflection points in life where things open up. And then what you said, Lila, about how Kamsa's kind of entire set of decisions started from fear. And then what is the opposite of fear? Is it really bravery or is it gratitude? Because that fear kind of it grows out of this mistaken concept that our material being is not insignificant. And so Kamsa's literally making the decision that his life is more important than another material life. And continuing to make that decision over and over again, not just about Krishna or his siblings, but also about the wrestlers that he employs or the demons that he's employing. He doesn't care about their lives either. And they're faithful to him. So this whole fear that Kamsa's expressing is this pride that his material being is not insignificant. And the true reality is that the material being is absolutely insignificant. And once you recognize the true reality and accept and be grateful for it, then you don't make decisions out of fear. And that presence or that acceptance of the truth and reality opens up a million possibilities for those moments where you're at that inflection point with changes in life. So as you go into those moments with this state of gratitude rather than a state of uncertainty, I think that the availability is there more apparently to the individual, as long as they accept that their material existence is insignificant.
Yeah, so what we're giving significance to. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Yeah, that's true. We're thinking, this is so much more than it is, or this situation is all in all, and there's so much more to it. Jamuna Jaya, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lila.
Hey.
So beautiful to see you. Thank you for class. You're like the sunshine that's coming in through your window. I was just, reflecting as Jeffrey was talking, and I just feel, and just Krishna is so wonderful. I feel like this whole pastime is the purport to the entire 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, right? And this is it. And I was in a Gita discussion class yesterday, and we talked about demons, and this is it. Kamsa is the poster child. And to what Jeffrey was saying, he said the opposite of fear, I was thinking is faith. And that is what, when we look at the 16th chapter, the first quality of a divine personality, what does Krishna tell us, is what? Fearlessness. And how can one be, how can one be fearless if one has faith? And what better example do we have than Abhay Charan, Srila Prabhupada giving us that example? And so that the beautiful list at the beginning of the 16th chapter, it begins with a fearlessness, and then it ends with not wanting to have the passion for honor. And that's, it's such a stark contrast to be fearless and the passion for honor, which is exactly what Kamsa exemplifies. He's got the passion for honor. It's so much that in that moment that you just read today, he just goes freaking berserk. So it's such a beautiful, like that first verse of the 16th chapter, just like fearlessness, and what's the opposite. And Kamsa is just like making it beautifully clear for us to see in these verses. So just wanted to share that, and always good to see you. Hare Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, I like all that. And it goes back to what Jeffrey was saying about that honor, that passion for honor is what Jeffrey was saying, thinking that this material existence, or this one personality, or this one thing that I have is the all in all, and it must be honored and must protect it in all ways. And I like the thing about faith, because yeah, I guess courage is, we hear this all the time, that courage is, being afraid and doing it anyway. And so when I'm afraid, it's what am I going to do? Am I going to fight against this, or am I going to use this fear to practice that faith in that person, that friend who is always with me, always driving that chariot and will never leave my side? So I really appreciate that. And I just want to share this one thing, Damodar Pri, I see your hand up, but Kansa is showing us this, and I think on one level, yes, of course, we're not glorifying any demoniac activities or personalities or mentality, but he is showing us this, and in that way, he's also performing a service for Krishna, even though he thinks he's doing his own thing, but really. Much later now we're discussing this, and he showed us something. He shows us what not to do, and that in and of itself is a service. Yes, Damodar Priya. Oh, my friend.
Hare Krishna, dear
Hare
sister.
Krishna.
So glad that we have such a beautiful lineup for this week. We have you today, then we have Champakalata on Wednesday, then we have Ananda Manjari, and then we have Rukmini on Friday.
Wow.
Vaishnavi week, ki jai. So I really appreciate what you shared, and I really appreciate also what Jamuna Jaya shared about the opposite of fear is faith, and being in a state of gratitude instead of uncertainty, which Jeffrey shared as well. And I was just wondering, it's always helpful for me to understand things based on people's personal kind of stories. So I was just wondering if you have any examples of times when you've been fearful or uncertain, and there has been either some kind of Krishna magic or something that has helped you move from that. So I'm just wondering if you have anything like that, or that you feel comfortable sharing, or maybe of someone else.
Yeah. Well, I think every day of my life, every day. Recently here at the Bhaktivedanta Institute, we had a lot of guests come from all over the world and stay here. And there was a big project that they're working on that is related to the temple of the Vedic planetarium in Mayapur. And it was a lot of service from morning to night, just attending to everything. But there's fear. Am I going to do this right? Am I going to do this wrong? Am I going to forget something? Or guests going to be uncomfortable? Is something it's just a lot of responsibility. And there's fear in that. There's fear, and then there are challenges that come up. And so that was a moment to take responsibility and really, really chant for, Martine was saying, well, I'm chanting more, but really asking for the ability to be able to offer service. And it's scary, because I want to be, like what Jeffrey was saying, how do we want to be seen? I think this is so important. The reality of it is I do want to be seen as competent and I'm doing a good job. And that I have to be very careful with that. So how do I dovetail that in a way where it doesn't make me behave like Kansa, but I can surrender and remember how insignificant in one sense I am, but that I can offer something. So every moment is full of, concern. Oh, I don't know what's coming next, and what's going to happen. But then there's that surrender into it, and how can I offer devotional service? But the thing about devotional service that I realize that's related to this is that we can understand what it is. Someone can say, yes, this is service, but we can also understand what devotional service is by the moments that come up in the heart and in the mind that is not devotional service. So a way to recognize it is by what it's not. This discomfort in the heart, this thing of whatever it is that I want, whatever it is, I can feel in myself, oh, this isn't devotional service. This is whatever, whether it's being uncomfortable or angry or fearful, and then I can say, okay, this doesn't feel so good. This is some impurity in the heart or in the mind, and keep moving forward, because to do the service in and of itself is purifying that obstacle to the service. And so, I mean, it's kind of built in. And then it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, that there was a point related to it. I can't remember it anymore. Yeah, if I remember, it'll come back. Sorry. Yeah, okay, so that they're all just obstacles to love. That's what it was. That this fear, that, everything, whatever comes up in any given situation, just an obstacle to love. And I can just pray for moving with that in a way that's going to bring me closer to devotional service. So yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, but anytime we're around the Vaishnavas, that's purifying. Maybe someone else has some. Adi Purusha, are you waving your hand? Hare Krishna, Prabhu, good morning. You're still muted.
Chimpakalata, Devi, Hare Krishna.
Maybe while Champak is there, she could also take off the virtual background so we can see the deities.
Can you remove the virtual background that Adi has? Yes, nice. Thank you. We see the cow dung walls. We can smell them also. We can smell something from Bima's camera also. Some nectar.
Oh, there we go. Hare Krishna, can you hear me now?
Hare yes. Krishna, yes, where are you? Let's see.
Everybody's dancing.
There you are.
Everybody's dancing around this subject through the whole class about, Mars tells us, Ranaswami tells us that the demoniac tendency, well, there's exceptions, but the tendency is to try to change the situation that seems to be problematic, something that's distasteful, whereas a devotee is concerned with changing our response to it. We want to change the way that we perceive this, and Krishna consciousness means that we see it as coming from Krishna. And like you said, we're great. You said all this. We're grateful for it, and we maintain the idea: Lord, how can I serve you under this circumstance? We're not interested so much in changing the circumstance, but maintaining our gratefulness to it and our faith in Krishna. So when we hear the Bhagavatam, we hear how Krishna is in control. He's our friend, and we are meant to please him. And we just keep that focus. Then there's no fear. We can calmly perceive in a way that would please Krishna. And Dhanata Maharaj was telling us there actually are no problems. We create the problems. Everyone is born into this world based on desire and hatred. I like this. I don't like that. I want this. I don't want that. But when we say, Krishna, what do you want? How can I serve you? There's no problem. Oh, glory to Prabhupada.
Thank you, Lila Didi. Wonderful class, as always. Thanks for being part of our Vaishnavi lineup.
So they can hear.
Okay, turn on your cameras if you can, please. Thank you. So many.
Hare
Shishradamodar ki jai, Shri Gaur Chandra ki jai, Shri Vasudev Prabhu ki jai. Okay, Bhima Prabhu is afterglowing. He wants to say something. Lila Di, do you have a few minutes?
Yes, yes, yes.
Hare Krishna. Am I okay? Am I broken up? I'm broken up on the inside, but
you're broken up, but you can go ahead.
I'm scattered all over Manhattan. The question is, Prabhujini, is we have this story of Kamsa and what he did. He not only killed Vasudev's and Devaki's children, but he also put out, if we remember, and is this true? I'm vaguely remembering that he put out a hit on all children of a certain age. He sent the demons out. Is that true? Like he was told by his diplomats to go and put a hit out on all children? I can't hear
Yeah,
you.
that's the understanding.
Right, and so that sort of Narada Muni sort of like coaxed that on in order to get Krishna to Mayapur ASAP, yes?
Yes.
It sounds like a setup question.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
All right. So my thing is that it seems like every great manifestation of evil in this world is always preceded by a genocide, and especially a genocide of children, the innocent. And I was just wondering, as devotees, we sit and we talk about ourselves and how we're going to purify ourselves or what not to look out for ourselves and etc. But we have these world events going on, and of course they've always been going on. But how does one, besides making other people aware, and of course prayer, what is one's feelings about when we see something just like Kamsa, just like King Herod put out a hit on all the children when he was told in the Bible that a savior was going to be born. He put out a hit on all young children. When Moses, the Pharaoh, was told that there would be a savior of the Jewish people, Moses, he put out a hit on all the firstborn male children because he also had been given that warning. So the question is does a devotee simply say, as I believe it was Adi Purush was just saying that, we have to, it's our reaction to these things. So we are witnessing a genocide right now. There is no question about this. And it's in our name. If you live in America, portion of your paycheck goes for this, pays for this genocide. What do we do? What can we do? Hare Krishna.
It's a big question, Bhima Prabhu, because what can we do? I mean, I think what we can't do is to harden our hearts. And it's appropriate that we suffer for these things, for that the suffering of another is our suffering. And to create such a state in our heart that starts to spread around. But I think the reality is this world is of a certain nature, and it's made that way. It's said that it's our desires as jivas, as souls, that have created this world. And so we can take responsibility and then see, where can I purify my heart? Where can I share that with others? So I'm not sure, I don't know what we can do practically, but how we perceive it, to not have our hearts be hardened against it, and to see that this is the type of world that we don't want to contribute to. Then we can do something practical, but it's only in our own lives. We can't control others. If we really, really want to make a difference, is to continue purifying our own hearts and share with others this understanding, because it's a faulty philosophy that causes people to create such destruction. It's because there isn't an understanding of what's what, and what's real and what's not real. And so that's what we can do. So the acharyas describe, like this should be keeping you up at night, the suffering of the world and of others. But what can we do? We can't control other people. We can't stop them. We can try, but that's not we can't forcibly make someone see and understand. And so we can pray for our own enlightenment, and we can pray for the hearts of others, that they may be enlightened in whatever they do. The people who have been giving power, pray for them to be enlightened, for them to think clearly, for them to open their hearts and be purified. But what else can we do other than helping share this understanding as much as we can? Because it's the philosophy underlying every action that tells us what that action, whether it's going to be something helpful or something destructive. That everything boils down to the philosophy that we hold in our hearts and in our minds, and that what we do is just a byproduct of that. So sharing it with others, being that conduit for understanding. And I mean, if we look at our acharyas again, they did this. They were very, very proactive in sharing it. So it's not just a matter of understanding it, it's a matter of also trying to spread it around, because otherwise things will not change. So whether it's teaching people how to respond to things, or it's teaching people how to behave, not in a I know best, but in a, hey, let's do this together. This is what I've learned, and it's worked for me, and it works for others. Short of that, I'm not sure. I'm sure there are other things that we can do. I just can't think of anything, because it is the nature of these things that they make us feel powerless and say, oh my goodness, I am so small, I can't do anything. but we can take shelter, and we can try to, at least for ourselves, try to see things appropriately. We're not going to change this world. We're not. We're meant to transcend it in our minds and in our hearts. And the interesting thing about transcending it is that it's not about escaping in the sense of like, I'm just going to check out from life. It's showing up for life and seeing that Krishna is everywhere. So yeah, this is very difficult, and it's completely natural that we suffer because of everything that's happening. And just pray that they're all, no matter what people are doing, they're all our kin. And we have to remember that. Yeah, maybe other ideas, what to do,
Thank
how
you,
to
Lila
respond.
Didi. Thank you, Lila. Wonderful answer. Suffering is very real in this world. Therefore, if you want to do something, do it now. Trauma is very real. Don't waste time. If you love somebody, tell them you love them. Bruce, I love you. I don't know how much longer I have to live, but I just want you to know. And everyone.
Beautiful.
I don't want to put anything off. Suffering is real. This world is a mess. So therefore, we have no time to waste. We should develop our attraction for Krishna, for Prabhupada, for devotional service. That's my little 5 cents. And we'd like to wrap it up. We respect Krishna in the form of time. It's 8:15. We're wishing you a wonderful and fulfilling, what's today? Tuesday and every day. Drive safely, Bruce. Martine,
I love you
was
too.
nice having you on this call. Please come regularly. You're a very sincere soul. We want to hear more from you. Lila Didi, thank you. Again, we'll look forward to your next class.
Hare Krishna.
Say hi to Brahmatirtha Prabhu, to all the elevated souls out there.
Yeah, he's in India now. He's left us yesterday. He'll be gone for the month of December.
Yeah. So you should give 2 classes in December. You should fill in for Brahmatirtha.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Have a beautiful day, friends.
Hare Krishna. Bye-bye.